I'm Dan, an ENTJ on the Myers-Briggs personality test. ENTJs have been described as decisive, confident, and efficient decision makers who achieve their goals. But to what extent can another personality, another mind, function like an ENTJ? Before we can explore this question, we first need to understand the Jungian cognitive functions that pilot the ENTJ personality. A useful analogy here might be this slow motion footage of a lightning bolt. First, the ENTJ's secondary cognitive function, introverted intuition, explores a network of possible ideas. But what makes this an especially good analogy for the ENTJ is this network of ideas has a single purpose: finding the most efficient path to the ground. This is extroverted thinking, the dominant function of the ENTJ. When that most efficient path is found, extroverted thinking kicks into action. All of that energy is discharged in a single spectacular bolt of lightning. But extroverted thinking, the strength of the ENTJ, comes at the expense of introverted feeling, their weakest cognitive function. This is the common thread that ties together all ideas in this episode. If you want to be a decisive, confident, and efficient decision maker, start by looking at aspects of your life where your feelings are overshadowing your thinking. This is not great advice for ENTJs. For you to mature, you're going to want to understand the opposite of this. This channel is not meant to be an echo chamber, but a place for us to grow, to appreciate other personalities. But how to think like an ENTJ, this video, has been my most requested topic on this channel. It's been thanks to your support that I keep doing this, and I'm stoked to announce that we reached our goal of 333 subscribers since our last episode. So if you want to see more ENTJ content, please like this video, leave a comment below, and help us reach our next goal of 500 subscribers. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video. I've got an exciting announcement to make about our next episode where I'll be giving away some cash prizes. Let's get into it. The first way to think like an ENTJ is to treat your feelings with suspicion. Sometimes what I want, or what I feel I want, prioritizes immediate gratification instead of setting me up for future success. This is when you procrastinate that assignment or choose to binge on Netflix instead of pursuing a more productive hobby. If an ENTJ is good at overcoming procrastination, it really is just this simple. Their personality is wired to suppress those feelings. But there is another area where our decisions are influenced by our feelings without us even realizing it. These are the decisions influenced by introverted feelings. What feels normal, right, or even moral might actually be misleading. My dad, who was a great man, instilled a sense of pride and responsibility in me for maintaining the house and our backyard. So when my wife and I bought our first home together, every Saturday for the first few months, I would spend hours outside. It felt good. It was, after all, the right, moral, and responsible part of owning a house. But it was also exhausting, and I found it really, really boring. I started to become suspicious. Was this sense of pride, satisfaction, really worth it? Would there not be a better use of my time employing someone else to look after the garden for me? In fact, I could use that time to start a side venture, take on more responsibility at work. Counterintuitively, by paying someone to look after my backyard, I'd actually be able to earn more money and have more left over time. I was right to be suspicious of my feelings. I tell this story to highlight a principle. What habits, regular decisions are you making because of your feelings or values? Maybe you see the value in a home-cooked meal each night. Is it actually cheaper or even healthier when you compare that with eating out? Was your expensive new car purchase actually about your ego? Was it really worth getting into debt for? You see, ENTJs have a reputation for achievement. How is it possible they can do so much? Well, it's actually fairly simple. Take the time to question every decision, every habit. Be suspicious of your feelings. You'll soon start to recognize areas of your life that you can make more efficient. Small gains in many areas will start to compound. You'll have more time, more money, and of course, more success. There is another perspective here. Maybe the sense of satisfaction you get from buying that car, which is outside your budget, is actually worth the opportunity cost of other investments. The expensive, inefficiently made home-cooked meal creates a homely atmosphere which is valuable but difficult to quantify. But as far as the ENTJ mind is wired, the most efficient, most effective outcome is always the best outcome. The second way to think like an ENTJ is to face your faults. In our last example, I talked about how positive feelings might actually be clouding our judgment. But what about negative feelings? How might they hold us back? It can be painful to come to terms with our failure, compare ourselves with others, and fall short. Maybe we're not as intelligent as we want to be. It wasn't our teachers or our school, it was us. It could be a sports injury, poor health, past choices that have meant we're not as successful when we compare ourselves with our peers. The truth is, we all have faults, we all have failure, and to be honest, when I've had setbacks, when I've been hurt, it's been the feeling personality types who've really helped me regain my confidence. I'll never forget the genuine compassion of my friends Paul and Bianca, who, when I'd been through a difficult breakup, showed up at my door with blueberry muffins. They weren't there to practically solve my problems or show me where I was at fault. They were there to empathize, to listen. You see, there's a season for everything and a place for every personality. Where the ENTJ strength exists is not in the space of emotional comfort, but practically overcoming your problems. We soothe ourselves by searching for ways in which we really are victims. It feels good to find blame in others, or even to curse God himself for the injustices of our existence. The truth is, we're often right. We are victims, it is unfair, and society should be the one to shift their standpoint. But there's little practical utility in remaining a victim. When we talk about our problems, it feels soothing and we do rightfully vindicate ourselves of responsibility, but it doesn't solve it. There's a boldness, a power that comes from facing the truth of your failure and accepting your faults. That way, you can take active steps to overcome them. I'm not as smart as I pretend to be. I'm going to be humble. I'm going to seek out people who know more than me. My social anxiety has meant I've pushed friends away. I'm not going to be bitter or jealous when my friends move on, expecting that they make allowances for my behavior. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to reconnect. I'm going to find the ways where I'm at fault. My marriage isn't as successful as I want it to be because I'm selfish. If an ENTJ highlights harsh truths to you, it's not that they want to push you away or hurt you. Quite the opposite. They want to help you. They want to help you face your faults, conquer your weaknesses, and believe it or not, it's coming from a place of love. The path to maturity for the feeling personality types might be to embrace the logical wisdom of the thinking types, even if the emotional sting feels hostile. The pathway for maturity for the thinking types might be to exercise restraint, show tact, make sure the person you're speaking with is in a place where they can properly hear the intent behind your practical advice. Now, the third way to think like an ENTJ is to be authentic. We're a social species and we're very conscious of how others think. We alter our behavior to accommodate the needs of others. We hide the sharper edges of our personality on a first date. When we wear a mask, an ENTJ might see this as trading social harmony for truth. A truth that's going to come out eventually anyway. If a relationship was only going to work while we mask our true thoughts and intentions, it's better to save time by being authentic now. Perhaps though, we have a reason we're hiding behind a mask. We do need to change. We need to grow in our personality. Well, the same principle is true. Be authentic in your faults. The opposition, the consequences you will receive for your authentic but flawed self will hasten the process of self-improvement. Conversely, if you hide how you feel about someone's negative behavior, you take away the opportunity for them to not only realize they've offended you, but also to change. Not everyone will appreciate who you are. Don't hide your sins. Be authentic, even in your faults. For the ENTJ, it seems this is the quickest path for growth. Fourth way to think like an ENTJ is to take action. When I was 20, I set a few goals for myself. 1, to travel to a new country every year, and 2, to own 16 investment properties by the age of 50. I've now been to over 50 countries, and I'm on track to be financially independent by the end of the decade. But you might be surprised I don't have any of these goals written anywhere. You see, it feels nice to set a goal, to make a New Year's resolution. But a goal is just an intention. More important than the goal is action. For example, for my wedding, I purchased a really cheap but good quality dance floor. Instead of reselling it, I decided to set up a dance floor hire business. There was a lot of work to do. Marketing, photos, customer testimonials, automated calendar systems for new bookings. You see, the temptation would be to sort out all of these small details before starting a business. I did none of that. I started it in 10 minutes by putting a generic photo of a dance floor and some super basic info about the dimensions onto Gumtree, Australia's Craigslist. A few days later, I had my first customer. Over the course of the next few months, I slowly added the extra details, built a website, logos. The rest of it came after I'd already started to achieve my goal. Going back to the analogy of a lightning bolt, it's the ENTJ's second cognitive function, introverted intuition, that explores the network of possible ideas and solutions to a problem. Now, there are personalities who do this better than the ENTJ, and they do it with a near 100% success. But the issue is, this process is time consuming. For the ENTJ, a 90% success rate is more than ideal, and once that's found, extroverted thinking kicks into action and strikes the ground quickly. You don't have to know all the answers, all the fine details to a problem. Just step out and tackle each issue as it arises. It's more efficient that way in the long run. One of the problems is this approach might make you feel anxious. There does exist an element of risk, which segues quite nicely into the final way to think like an ENTJ: take calculated risks. Veritasium, one of my favorite science channels, did an interesting video exploring risk. He offered strangers the chance to win $20 on a coin flip. They only had to put $10 of their own money up as collateral. This is a great bet. Statistically, the odds are in your favor 2-1. It was only when the odds became 5-1 did people start seriously considering the bet. I'll let Derek make the point of the video.
This experiment is not about gambling. It's not to encourage you to go to the casino where the odds are definitely stacked against you. Instead, it is a metaphor for all the little risks and opportunities that come our way in our lives. I mean, if you view each one as an independent event, you will often say no to even very good bets because you're afraid of the loss. So if instead you can see each little bet as one of a series of bets, then you realize that if you take that bet every time, you may win and you may lose, but overall, on the aggregate, you will come out ahead.
So there you have it. 5 ways you can think like an ENTJ. If you've come this far, please show your support by liking this video or subscribing to the channel. Help us reach our goal of 500 subscribers. Now, the exciting announcement. I've partnered with the subreddit ENTJ memes, and I'm offering some prizes for your best OG ENTJ memes. I'll offer $30 for what I think is the best meme, and then 2 runner-up prizes of $15 each. I'll leave a link in the description below. Make sure you mark your submissions with the meme contest flair. The competition closes on the 14th, but I will accept late entries. Stay tuned for our next episode, our very first ENTJ meme review and giveaway.